Hey guys, Infidel1258 here. Today I want to prepare some comments and thoughts in response to some of your guys' feedback around the recent glint changes, as well as my video where I talked about how I was spending some of my glint. That video is my most recent video, so if you're interested, go check that one out. I kind of deep dive in how I think about it, like how could one decide whether it makes sense to spend glint or not? What's a glint even worth? What are these reward cards worth? So there's calculations and considerations that I make in that video that might be helpful. But on that topic, there were 3 or so comments that were pointing in a certain direction with respect to the new reward card system, glint system, card rarity purchasing, and I would argue just the soulbound card system, which point me to a conversation that I want to have around the critical nature of our opinion around this card and reward system. It seems like there's a good number of people. Now, it might be the case that it's a loud minority, but there's at least a loud minority and maybe a loud majority. I haven't fully teased that out yet, that really don't like soulbound reward cards, generally speaking, that maybe don't like the glint system as it's operating. And I think some of that might change, and we might grow into this and might become fans of it as it changes and iterates, but that's to be determined. And I want to read some of the criticism because I actually want to found our expectations around what I think Matt is clearly telling us. So do we want changes? Let's talk about it. Are we going to get changes? Let's talk about it. If that sounds interesting, stick around, stay tuned, like and subscribe. And if you're new to my channel, my name is Dwayne Cunningham. I go by Infidel1258. You can call me 12. Leave comments on any video. I do read them regularly and I try to turn them into video content. If I see an IGN associated with your comment, I will try to send a little thank you. So keep that in mind. Okay. So I was just popping through. I'm going to prepare several videos. I'm going away for the weekend. I'll tell you now. It's May 2nd as I record this. I'm going to be away until the 5th, 6th. And so I'm going to prepare some content for you guys and there'll be video content ready for you. But I'm going to really lean on some of the comment section. I'm going to try and create content and answer your questions and go ahead of sort of from that perspective. And on that, with that idea in mind, I thought, let's focus on certain topics. And I go and I see a number of comments on the recent spending glint and Splinterlands video, which is my most recent one, the one I referenced earlier. And I'm seeing a common thread, like I said, criticism around the reward structure. Maybe it's really pointed at the soulbound card system more particularly. And then I want to read your comments, address them, and I want to share a clip from what Matt has to say about this because I think he's giving us clear direction on what the team is planning. So let's get into that. First of all, I see Freedom Every Way saying he just spent 480,000 glint to only gain 1x non-gold legendary and 1 gold rare that I didn't have yet in my collection. So 48,000, assuming I'm assuming you didn't buy, I wonder, you didn't specify if you bought the rarity specific draws or if you just bought regular draws. Because the regular draws, the best one, the master draw is 5,000 glint. The epic rarity specific is 5,000 glint. And it's 25,000 for the legendary. So, the odds are far lower, but you get way more chests if you go master draw. Plus with the master draws you can get multiples, which in my limited testing you aren't able to get multiple cards per draw when you go card specific rarity draws. So interesting. I wish I had a little bit more context, but you're talking about spending a lot of glint. I would call that a lot of glint. That would take me 3 seasons to earn, and you go to only gain 1 non-gold foil legendary and 1 X gold foil rare, which you didn't have. So presumably you got lots of other cards, but the other ones you didn't care about because you already had them. That is very frustrating, isn't it? And I think some people have pointed us to the questions like, could we ever just print, if I want 1 Izzyar, can I pay really high cost maybe, and I get 1 Izzyar? I think some people would like that. I think other people would hate that. If you already have 25 Izzyars, and if other people can print them on demand, it undermines the value proposition of the Izzyar itself or of any soulbound card. You can imagine if there's an excellent soulbound card and everybody wants it, but you can just go print one on demand by spending glint, that is going to erode the demand for the future transferability of those cards. Makes them less valuable because there's more supply. And that's just basic economics. But interestingly, the other side of that coin is that you might argue, well, I have to spend hard-earned glint in order to do that. And if you price the glint, if you price that specific card printing mechanism at a substantial enough price point, you would erase enough glint that would diminish total card supply because you'd be taking away available glint that could otherwise go to master draws or card specific rarity draws. And so there is a conversation to be had there. I don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole. I want to really just acknowledge that Freedom is frustrated. He says the system sucks. He's frustrated by the existing glint system. He's also pointing to a frustration around the soulbound system because he's missing certain key cards, and he's saying it's so hard to pull those ones in particular. He doesn't just want any soulbounds. He wants certain ones. He's talking about in particular a gold rare as well as a certain legendary. He doesn't mention which, but you can see he doesn't want the other 20 or whatever cards. And so that lack of specificity is frustrating to some people. That's a trouble with the glint system, but it's also more particularly a problem or a critique, let's say, of the soulbound reward cards. Asmon says, is it worth to spend $100 total on the marketplace for all these 1 to 2 BCX leftovers is the question. Can buy 1/5 of the entire Chaos Legion set for that. So he's talking about, because I mentioned that, if I'm missing 1 BCX here or 1 BCX there of a certain legendary or epic or something, I can just go to the marketplace and buy them. And that'll be true eventually when we see cards being made transferable. And I think lots of people, myself included, will do that, especially for certain key breakpoints. If you have a card like Iziar that has, it has Martyr at level 3, then you're going to want to see that you have at least 5 BCX of that. If you have 4 BCX, you're going to go to the marketplace, buy that extra BCX of that card so that you can play it at that gold league level and unlock that amazing ability, which is so important. And so, that will be done. And he's pointing to the fact that, we really can't expect those to be affordable. We should expect those to be expensive. And maybe, it's going to be in the tens of dollars or hundreds of dollars for certain key cards. And he's saying, if I have to spend $100 on the marketplace to buy a couple of these, important soulbound cards, the question is, I could spend a little bit more and get an amazing Chaos Legion deck. And he's pointing to the nature of the soulbound cards. Like, I can't get what I want within the soulbound structure. It's either too hard to unlock or impossible, frankly. And then the expense associated with it will be so dramatic as compared to some of the other sets like Chaos Legion, which is, far more abundant, far more, common. And I think that's a point. That's a bit of that is a critique around the soulbound structure, but it's also pointing to, the overprinting of Chaos Legion. But I want to stay on the theme of the soulbound. And I agree. It is hard. It is frustrating that, like, if you're missing 1 or 2, you might have to come to the marketplace. You might have to spend a lot of money. I get the frustration around that, but I also like, from the other side of there's 2 sides to every coin. And if we talk about how there might be a significant price point associated with a few BCX that are going to maybe be quote unquote needed for me to have a high level of success, then we might also recognize the fact that if we were one of the lucky ones that unlocked enough of those cards in the first place, which some people did, then we could also benefit from that scarcity. That scarcity would provide extra value. That extra value would be a price point that we would enjoy. And so while the luck didn't go our way in this particular instance, maybe in your particular instance where you're talking about, or you're implying that you might be missing certain key ones, or that I was saying I'm missing key BCX, we have to always remember that if we're frustrated because we don't have, that means there's a tension around that. There's a desirability to that asset, whether it's, monster cards, summoners, land plots, whatever the asset token or thing is. If there's a desirability and people are frustrated they don't have enough of it, that means it's going to carry a high value. And that actually is great from an advertising perspective, a sustainability of the player base. There's a lot of positives to scarcity. One of the negatives just happens to be that not everybody gets the card they want. And that's maybe my story and yours too, Asmon. But again, soulbounds, we're not sure about it. Like, we're frustrated by we're not able to get the right cards that we want. And will we ever, and what will the price be around that? And one last comment also from Asmon. He says 19 months of these rewards, and he's been playing in Diamond Plus with 8 to 10x multiplier, and I still don't have a single BCX of one legendary card, Avis. While Dry Bone, I got 14 BCX. Variants can be crazy. I want to show the Avis card before we move on, because I don't want, if there's people who don't necessarily know what those cards are, I want to show the stats. Earlier I mentioned Iziar. I think most people know Iziar, but let's quickly look up Avis and Dry Bones. So I'm coming in here to Chaos. I'm looking into Reward. I'm going to specifically look at legendary. This is Drybone Raider. It's got the double strike. It's got, well, it doesn't technically, it has double strike, but then it also has melee and archery, which is an amazing card. Super powerful. I'm 1 BCX away from maxing that guy. He was also referencing Avis, which is this one here, and it has a weapons train capacity, which is super powerful. He doesn't have one of these nor one of these. No, I think he said he has lots of these, but he doesn't have one Avis. Avis is great, and that is disappointing. I would argue, from just as a side note, I think the best of the best here, you know, from these cards, in my opinion, is Izzyar. I like Usyk, but I don't think it's in the contention for best. I think Drybone is probably a number 2. Kulu probably number 2, and then maybe Drybone 3. Soriel could be number 4 or 5 if you get it max, but I don't like it at any level but max. But I'm digressing from your point. You wanted to make the point that it's so unreliable, and it's like a similar point to what you said earlier. It's just, we can't. It wasn't as easy as play more, earn everything you want. It was this random quality that led us to be, in some ways, oversupplied. You have 14 Drybones. That's great. You know, I think Drybone is one of the best legendaries, and I think you probably will be able to make those transferable and then sell that for value, which will allow you to unlock some of the cards that you lack, like Avis. I would argue Drybone is more important than Avis. Maybe not more, that's hard to say. Depends which Splinter you like, but I would say they're both amazing cards. At a minimum, I would say they're both amazing cards. And I would say I actually like Drybone better than Avis, but I play Avis all the time. So they're both amazing. My point just being, if you got an abundance of one, that will be a dollar value in your pocket, which can be translated into some of the other ones you're lacking. So 3 comments speaking to the critical nature of both the glint system, but also the reward. It's really more about the soulbound cards, because the glint system would be exciting if we had amazing cards that we wanted to have, if it was a brand new set that we didn't yet have. Because in some sense, the critique really is it's been out. The old reward cards have been out for a long time. I have some of them way too. I have most of them in abundance, but there's certain key ones I lack, and I have no way of satisfying that desire at this moment. So, or no affordable, no reasonable, no reliable way of satisfying that. You could throw millions of glint at these things and buy the rarities that you need, but as we pointed out with Freedom Everyway's comment, it's expensive, and glint, you know, you're not making much of it. He can't do that every day. I mean, that would take me 2 or 3 seasons to earn. And so I want to point all this criticism. I want to highlight the criticism because I think there's a degree of frustration that is pointed at glint, pointed at the glint shop, pointed at maybe the rewards in the game. But I would argue it's actually at the core of the core an issue of our frustration or our disappointment or our annoyance with the soulbound cards not having been changed in so long. That's my thesis, is that the general concern and frustration that you're expressing, and that maybe I'm even feeling, because I am feeling some of that, comes not from, you know, the glint shop or the price points or the, you know, the math on the rarities or whatever. It's actually just, if you gave me new reward cards that I could get excited about, but right now I have 99% of the cards with the 1 or 2% that I'm missing. It just feels it lacks excitement. And when I go to spend expensive glint, which is to me hard to get, on draws, and I end up getting the same old card that I already have 14 copies of, I'm frustrated. So the question that lingers as I raise this frustration is, can we look away from soulbounds? Like, is that what we want? Are we expressing a desire to move away from soulbounds? Are we expressing a desire to see, maybe it's just we want new soulbounds? What is the change we're actually asking for? I think we are actually asking for new soulbounds, but I think some people are trying to point us towards, let's move away from the soulbounds. In fact, there's a comment here I want to show you from the recent town hall where a person asked the question. There's a question here on the screen that Matt's about to answer, and he'll read it, but I just want to quickly summarize it. He says, how is the new reward card set going to work? Will it be soulbound or maybe a hybrid soulbound? And let's hear what Matt has to say about that. Because I think sometimes we feel as though we just have to survive this soulbound set and then we'll be onto some new system and it'll be more rewarding, more satisfying. I'm not sure that we can expect change. And I want to hear Matt's thoughts, and then we'll finish with some thoughts on his comment. Okay, so here we go. Let's listen to Matt.
Question about new reward card set. Will it be soulbound or maybe hybrid soulbound? I'm thinking we should be able to lock them right away. I'm reading this, that's not what I'm actually thinking. The question says that the person who submitted the question is thinking we should be able to unlock them right away, so new players will be able to purchase or rent them. Yeah, this is what I kind of talked about. I am still of the opinion that soulbound cards should be soulbound until a new set comes out when they can be unlocked. So that is the plan for the new reward card set. It will be soulbound just like the current set, and you will need to play in order to earn them. And accounts that maybe save up their glint and earn a lot more glint in the meantime will be able to get them quicker than accounts that don't. But the idea is that with the new rarity draws and things like that, you will be able to target the cards that you need more effectively. So you won't just be stuck and continue to not get the cards that you need, even though you play a ton and get a ton of rewards. So
I'm going to stop him there. The point I really wanted to drive home is that if we're expecting or longing for the soulbound structure to go away, where we can then have easy access, because that, in one sense, you might argue that the answer to the problem, Asmon is frustrated, he's missing certain key cards. Freedom is frustrated, there's certain key cards he's missing. I'm frustrated by that same thing. The problem, two solutions to that would be issue a brand new soulbound set, which we don't have any copies of, and every card we get we'll be excited about. But that's not necessarily sustainable, because you can't. Certain people play more, earn more, and so are you going to release a new set every week for the best of the best, or are you going to wait a year and a half so that the sort of the middle of the road players get most of that deck? And then finally, it costs something for the team to develop those. But that's one possible solution that I think some of us want, and we are pointing towards in the next couple of months we'll get a new set. But the other piece is just like, what if they were not soulbound at all? What if I could just go to the marketplace today and buy an Avis or whatever card, an Iziar, whatever soulbound card I'm looking for. And yeah, there would be a price point associated with it, but the flexibility would allow people like Freedom or Asmon or myself to feel, okay, I want this that bad, here's money, give it to me. And right now, that feels like what the question was asking, like, are we going to make it, can we make it will the soulbound set, will it be soulbound or will it be some sort of hybrid? And so you're grasping at some sort of effort to sort of move away from the soulbound perspective, because they're feeling frustrated, as are my commenters, around the scarcity and the difficulty of unlocking the thing that we want, not just any old card. And so I think I want to finish by drawing 2 points, and then we'll wrap. The first is that Matt is clearly pointing us to the fact that he doesn't want to move away from soulbounds, and that absolutely the card moving forward, the next reward cards will be soulbound, which is to say that this problem will persist. So I think we can continue to bring that up with them. We could try, and if we really feel strongly as a community, certain proposals around the issue of soulbounds might be, wise to like bring his attention to our desires. Because if there really is a community sentiment that says we hate soulbounds, I don't think that that's true. I don't believe there's a consolidated, like real mass of people who believe that. I think it's more like there's a loud minority that really say they suck. I think a lot of us who have earned them enjoy them, and we know that they will one day be unlocked. Maybe we want that to be a lower price point, etc. We have certain concerns around how they're operating, but I don't think most people want to do away with them. Having said that, if we believe that the audience wants to fully get rid of them, then maybe proposals around this, and Matt has also been clear about this, like if we come forward with proposals and we make our desires really felt, then they're willing to hear that, even if it is in direct opposition to what he desires. And so it's clear that he wants to make the next reward cards soulbound. I would expect them to continue to carry forward in that manner, moving even beyond the next soulbound set. And we also know that the next soulbound set will probably be sometime this summer, July, August, I would wager. And so we will at least feel some sort of relief from this conversation because of that. Because one, you're going to start receiving rewards in every glint, from every glint that will be a new card to you. Because the first few chests, you won't have any of them. So that's going to be exciting. And you will no longer get the cards you have too many copies of, because there will be no cards you have too many copies of. But then the other piece is the cards that you're longing for today, like Avis or, Dry Bones or whatever else, Iziar, will be made transferable through DEC burning, and that will make it available to the marketplace, which should satisfy two pieces of our criticism. At the end of the day, I'm excited to see that there's new cards coming, even if there isn't necessarily a total overhaul to this experience. I do think the existing glint shop and the reward structure makes sense. I do think these cards are satisfying and enjoyable. I like that they're not easily liquidable, and I do think that was a problem from the bot perspective. I know that's a complicated conversation and not everybody agrees. So if you have comments that sort of contrary to what I'm saying, I'd love to see them in the comments below. But otherwise, I just want to say thank you guys for your time and attention. And if you enjoy the video, drop the like. And if you haven't already, hit the sub button. Stick around, stay tuned, and have an amazing day, guys. God bless.